after a few hours of post fast, you know, life, a couple things, and so I'm back here to do a video to kind of just recap from a place of more clarity. Before you could see, before the before video was a little bit, energies were kind of just wonky a little bit, just in a deep place of reverence. And during, obviously, I was pretty erupted with this whole experience, making a mess and all that. And then the after, well, specifically, I went into doing an enema, which was a plan, that I had before, and really important actually. And that actually revealed a lot for me, and it answered a lot of questions actually this past few hours about what I was feeling during, especially what I was feeling this past day or so. And then just sitting and kind of speaking to people and sharing the picture of this ceremonial setup that I really enjoyed, setting up this morning. I also got a lot of clarity on things that I didn't really share in the first videos that I want to just clarify and focus on. And I think the first one I want to focus on is that, and I've said this so many times, but I think it's really important, and that's, well, two main things. First is fasting in and of itself is not, it can become the new God, just like anything, right? The new thing that's going to deliver you from the primary illusion or the primary lack of not knowing who you are. You can realize your true nature and walk the path of enlightenment and awakening without necessarily doing a 11-day dry fast or something. It's funny how people get when they kind of when we attach ourselves to things in particular ways and think that that's going to just solve all our problems, and I feel like most watching this probably are not in that place of kind of an immature view on the path, but it can be quite, it can come out under things, it can kind of present itself in different ways, and it's something that we constantly are to reiterate ourselves, including, with myself. And I did feel elements to it in this fast, more specifically to completing the 12 days, because that's the main protocol that I was following by a couple different teachers, but Dr. Filanov, the main Russian doctor who runs a clinic with this dry fasting approach. And he's working with people generally a lot more chronic, so that process, it has the set time and all that. So I didn't really feel like I had to get there. I felt like I had moved through the two main acid phases, acid release or acid crisis phases, that weren't really that challenging, but certainly this week, one of the more challenging things I've ever done. And also, much of my approach with all of this is more from the Breatharian perspective, in the sense that I know that I can go into these longer phases eventually and not have the thirst and not have these things because of the other tools or other practices that are constantly there. I have all the Kalantic and Christic, things around me here. I have it on the table. It's just everywhere in my life, and just that just brings so much strength and so much energy, so much pure frequency, and that leads into the breath and the movement of the body and the connection with the elements and all the things that nourish us beyond just the food and the water or the food and the liquids. And so if all of these things are in balance, then things can be much easier. And as I mentioned previously at the start of this video, I didn't keep up on all that this week because just there's different things going on. You're really having to look at the mind. Past 4 days, I was just kind of obsessive over liquids, and it was quite distracting. But not some. But every time I go on a 5 to 7 kilometer walk, or focus on the group that I'm before teaching, or focus on a conversation, focus on anything, just continue to focus, then that kind of goes away, and you see that, well, the body's not actually that thirsty compared to what we may think it would be. So much of it is, of course, in the mind. So that's the first piece that I kind of want to focus on and reiterate, that doing this, we're not making a god out of it, we're not making anything out of it, and even just watching these videos, it's easy to compare or get in the place, well, I got to do that, and that leads to the next piece, is if I've been prepping for this for so many years, and I remember I may have shared this before. My memory's still kind of getting lined up, but in the previous videos, last night I watched a video of my old teacher breaking his 12-day from 2016, Gino, from the Master Fast, and we never really connected that much, but I always felt a connection to him because I learned so much from his teachings with the Master Fast, and that approach which is quite different than a lot of different approaches, but he did the fast and he broke it. It was just such a magical video to watch because just in the moment of last night, specifically because I was kind of nauseous, and he was smelling lemons. I'm like, oh yeah, like I can just go get some lemon oranges and just scratch them and just keep sniffing them like essential oils, and I literally I think I talked about this in a little bit. Like I put the lemon beside my bed and slept beside it and that. But the other piece is how he broke it with the pomelo juice and the lemon, just like I did, how I explained it, and that was so helpful because that experience, as you saw or as you're gonna see, however this is gonna be edited, was just out of this world, and I'm gonna make more later. Um, but what was I gonna get at? Oh yeah, so the key element here is yeah, it takes time. Like when I watched that video years ago, like 12-day dry fast was so out of my reach. And even clearly now, like I didn't get that whole 12 days, but it was so out of my reach. It was so like it's like, yeah, like I was just like, oh, that's so inspiring, but wow, like and then I did 40-day juice fast and things, and it built up to it over time. So this wasn't really extreme for me, and it's important that we remember ourselves and really be honest with ourselves of where we're at. We're not pushing too hard or too much, and I'm still in this really. Like I feel like for the next month or two, I have to be very cognizant and mindful of what is going in my body and what's happening here, because everything is rebuilding now. The stem cells have just they're activated, and they're like, holy crap, you were just starving. We need to repair you. We need to bring you back to whatever. So that's that. Those 2 points are really important. When it comes to the people. Now, the other thing I wanted to touch on was the enemas that I've just done. I'm not going to get into too much detail, obviously, but I'm into 5 enemas now over the past couple hours, and I feel like I'll probably do another couple. 5 enemas. That's like 5 liters or more of water and lemon water and baking soda, and it was, man, like. So, if there was only one main mistake that I made in this dry fast, was how I went into it. 2 weeks ago, I did a 10-day water juice liquid fast, which is really great. Then I broke it, and I was having a lot of cravings in that, and I broke it and in kind of a mediocre way. And then I pretty quickly got into some cooked stuff, and I just really wanted to kind of taste whatever. It was almost like a rebellious type of phase. And then I went into some fruits for like I think a week or 5 days, maybe over Christmas, and then there was one night that I had vegan sushi, and it wasn't really that big, and it was fine. It wasn't that great actually, but so you're having it. You have the vegan spicy mayo and some of the soy sauce, which I didn't actually eat that much of it, but still okay. So you eat it. So that was my last meal. Before going into this, like nothing else. I didn't do an enema. I didn't clean the colon. Nothing. And usually I am advocating this, so do as I say, not as I do. But I also had this perspective that I'm so clean in my body. I felt like my body would just deal with it very very efficiently. And I do believe there was a bowel movement in the first day or two. I don't remember, but I was kind of clear. I'm like, I'm not so worried about that. And so last night when I was getting really nauseous, past couple of days, I felt like my intestinal tract, my GI tract was almost like not eating itself, but it was just really uncomfortable. There was a lot of stuff going on in there that I was just like, okay, well, this is interesting, right? So we go and do these enemas, and all of a sudden, the stuff that's coming out is a dark red, dark orange type of substance that's coming out. So immediately I'm like, well, that's the sushi dinner, like the soy sauce with the mix of orange. But then you're in 5 enemas deep, and and it's still coming out, and it's very warm. When you do enemas and you're getting rid of stuff that is it has most recently been eaten, and you really you got the enema through that deep, and you're pulling that out. Like say you ate something bad and you just or raw or something that's just not feeling good. You want to get it out. Well, it's gonna feel really warm because it's just been processing, but it's been, you know, almost 11 days now since almost 11 days since that meal. So it's not gonna be that. That's gonna be warm still, and that's where I was like, well, this is the toxic waste from my whole body, right? Like maybe it was combined with it all, on some level, but there's no way it'd be five enemas that all this stuff is still coming out, and it's coming out in these pockets literally that are like warm liquid, like coming out, like almost burning at times, which is similar to like sulfur, but it's not. It wasn't really sulfur. It could have been a little bit, which usually like stains a lot. That's why I know it probably wasn't that, but yeah. So we're still in that right now, and that was really eye opening because that's what's happening. If all these other cells in your body, this sick, weak, cancerous cells, are breaking down, they're being cannibalized. Well, all the excess waste from there has to go somewhere. So it was being cleansed very very much so through the urine because I was urinating every day, but it also goes in the intestinal tract because that's the main way it can get out. So that's an interesting point that even though it's graphic, and maybe I'll put the picture of what I did take a picture of, but you can I'll edit it, whatever, so you can be warned. Um, it's a revealing thing, right? There's so much toxic waste in there from so many years, and when you get into this deep level of cleaning, you're pulling out stuff that's, yeah, like in every crevice of your body. And of course, I'm still a baby in this. We all are when we're speaking about true well-being, and that's what's really about. Like true well-being doesn't come from eating. Period. Not even the fruits. I believe the fruits are the best step we can take, but it really is going to be the fasting that's going to do it. And maybe that perspective will change someday. I mean, I am big on how can we make this even more effortless on some level. Like, with I was talking to a friend, his name's Scott Kesselman. He does light therapy, so it's like light therapy or sound therapy or working with these frequencies or your meditations. Obviously, the true healing comes from the emotional sense, the meditations, the energy. That's really where things can kind of heal almost like in miracle like fashion, almost instantly. We hear this all the time. But at the same time, all levels are divine. And if we haven't taken care of the way we're consuming and what we consume, well, sure, yeah, we can just leave the body. The body's, the physical body. We're not gonna take it with us. Some of us may want to. So that's where maybe this stuff is going to be very important. But we each have a different path, and that goes back to my first point. If you eat a hamburger or if you eat, some stuff that's not that great, doesn't mean you're not enlightened. You know what I mean? Like this is a real misconception and dogmatic approach to it. And I've continuously come within myself to make sure I'm not being too dogmatic with anything as much as I am pretty clear on a lot of the stuff that I share, because my journey has just constantly brought me back to this. Um, so yeah, so that's that in regards to what's happening right now. I'm continuing on this coconut water. That feels the best, especially when it's a bit cold. Even though you should probably stick with like lukewarm. I haven't actually gone for the water. It's so funny, a couple of past couple of days I was joking about all this glacier water and this obsession with water that I was kind of sinking into, and for obvious reasons, right? But I don't drink water really that much. I hardly ever drink water, and I'm always hydrated for the most part. If I do eat cooked stuff, I will, because naturally you have to compensate. But most of the time, it's coconut waters, fruit juices, veggie juices, or eating that stuff which is filled with it. So that was funny. It just kind of shows like some of the illusions that pop up. I'm like, oh, I gotta go and get all this water. I went yesterday and I haven't touched it yet. I probably will, but it's not. It's not what's really craving. This is it's not even craving. It's just a resonance. Um, I'm gonna make that mix I made before again. Oh my gosh. Definitely not the same or good with the cucumber juice. I'm not really loving the cucumber juice that much. I'll be honest. Um, so yeah. So and the other thing is I have no craving for any food right now. which could be obvious or could be natural or regular. I haven't talked to too many people about what happens with that, but not at all. And I would love to continue with liquids for whatever time that feels right. Um, I wanted to add, yeah, just a couple of things about what supported me through this week, and one of the main ones, and what I've talked about a lot, is although there was kind of a need to find a balance with social time, or my teachings and some of the group sessions, because we have the detox course going now, and one-on-ones and things, is when you're in that social mood and you're moving, and you're connecting not just with people but like animals, the nature, yourself, your creative movements. Although my body was uncomfortable a lot, so it's hard to like sit and write or do things that I enjoy in that way. But the social element is quite nice, because we're really just looking for intimacy, and when we have that, we don't think about the food, we don't think about thirst, we don't think about these things. This is reiterated time and time and time again, and it's the easiest way for me to do short dry fast is to be out, to go out, to go on little trips, and I don't even think about it, So that's that. I also had a real affinity with the essential oils. Um, I had this one blend that I got gifted by a friend named Catherine, from the Peace Room back in the day, when we were working at it. I wasn't actually too fond of these, or not fond, but I just never really used them. And then sometimes you come back to things and it's perfect for what you need at the time, and that was that for me. It really helped the past few days to like just keep on that, keep rubbing it, keep smelling it. So those are great. I'm gonna get back into the herbs a little bit. I do feel like I have not used the herbs much over my time with this detoxification, and I've had a lot of healing, and I kind of wonder how things would go if I go into, because I've recreated a lot of formulas based on different teachers that are really popular, so I can get it at better prices for people, especially around here. And those are available now. So for those who want those or want the list, the herbal, it's got a mini catalog, at least you can say. So I'm gonna get back into mine. I have a decent amount that I'm gonna explore and just see if that's necessary. Even it may just be kind of similar to the water thing, but I know it's helpful. I've had a lot of healing without it too, and I think dry fasting is supreme, and you can make a lot of progress with that, right? And it's free, right? So yeah, so I think that's all I have for now. Yeah, it's just been, yeah, it's just so wonderful. I feel really great right now. I feel very balanced, very neutral, back to where I've always been, really. I didn't need to do this fast to deepen into some like crazy psychedelic, spiritual realization, anything. That has already been my path. Not to say that that's not possible, especially as maybe Trevor has spoken about past day 11, day 12, which I didn't do. So I know that will be in the cards at some point, but I also know that I have all the time in the world. There's no rush with this. Uh, there are, in terms of physical healing and things, there are specific things that will still be necessary to do, that I think I would have to go at least 15, 16 days to heal in completion. My back feels obviously amazing, but it's still like small little bits that I feel, especially with weight on my back. My ankle is still just small little bits. It's like so amazing, doing all these walks, didn't feel it at all, even on rocks, unstable ground. So, that's that. But I feel like it's just the beginning to actually see what this has done, what this has done, and what this will continue to do, with the stem cell regeneration. So that's cool. It's all good. It's all good. So unless I feel like I'm sparked with more stuff, for those who are looking to connect on questions, I get a lot of questions a lot, especially with people sharing my stuff the past week or two, and people just go, just all these questions. I'm always open to answering questions, but so much of these questions have been answered for the most part in this course that we're doing right now, and in some of my other articles, especially like more entry level stuff. Maybe not dry fasting, because I'm just finishing this one. I've done many, but not this long, so I'm not a expert per se in all the details of the dry fasting process, and certainly not breatharian. Although I can speak to the topics, and a lot of a lot of times I can speak to a lot of things that I may not necessarily have gone so much into, that you may still benefit from. So I'll do what I can in that regard. But the rest of it, like, these resources are there and they're quite affordable, and I mean most of it can be done at, if you're having monetary trouble, pay what you feel or whatever. And not as much on the one-on-ones because there's a lot of time, but it's just all, and it's, I just trust always that there's equal energy exchange. So it's not even really a discussion. It's just know that the resources are there, at least for me, and part of what my job has been is bringing together a lot of the resources from many others, and pointing you to these different teachers, like all the greats in this space: Arnold Ehret, Dr. Morse, Gino, well, Trevor, for the dry fasting, or Sat Marga, or the Russian crew, Anastasia. I mean, they're in a real extreme space, some of them. Svetlana, who I learned from the retreat, the dry fasting group led by Frederick, the Solid Food Vacation, John Rose, Master Fast, Gino. These are all just so many different systems, so many different approaches. And in my view, like, much of what my journey has been with this detox course and what we're doing now is, I feel like I've summarized a lot of these in different ways, and not just summarized, but shown how there's an interconnectivity and how there's a progress through that process, in my own way, or the way that I feel has been for me. So no system is it. We are the path, the pathless path. We have to walk that. We have to apply it. We have to engage it. Even bringing Kalonic science systems. I know a lot of Kalonic science people are not really into a lot of these things, but yet they're very advanced in other ways, and their connections to other things. And like, everyone's talking breatharianism and all this stuff, and I speak to it too, but I also know there's a balance with that, because we have a lot of work to do on these bodies, and a lot of work to do on our templates and our DNA and all levels. So just thinking like, oh, we just got to get breatharian, that's the path here. Well, yeah, maybe on one level, but this all should happen naturally. It doesn't need to be forced. And although that's a path that I feel like could be possible for myself in this lifetime, it's not something that I'm attached to, or not something that has to happen, not something that I certainly want to force in any particular way. And I'm endlessly being humbled and learning that too. But the reality is, our original state is that. So whether it's in a couple hundred years, millions of years, I don't know. I have no idea. And I know in higher dimensions we still eat. So understand that. People think, oh, it's just we're gonna hit 5D and then everyone's birthday. No, that's not how it is. So it's just, staying balanced and grounded. And that's cool. So that's it. Deep love.